Welcome to the Probate Nation. People are living longer thanks to good health care and healthy lifestyles. But as we age, not everyone remains as sharp as they were years ago. And frequently a loved one, a son or a daughter, is called upon to take on the responsibility of helping an elderly parent or family member with financial and medical decisions. Execution of highly recommended legal documents in advance can allow you to provide that help without court oversight. But not everyone executes those documents, and when the time comes to help that loved one, someone may need to take formal legal steps to get appointed to serve as the guardian or conservator, or both, and in the process, begin the living probate train ride. In prior shows, we discussed this process from the perspective of someone in the family stepping up to take on this responsibility. But not everyone has family who can do so, or the family may be unwilling to do so and may prefer to have a third party assume these responsibilities. And as we have seen in recent years, the person who needs a guardian may lack financial resources to pay a third party to care for them. Clearly, there are challenges in filling this need. Our show tonight will take a look at two resources to address these challenges to find a person to serve as guardian and conservator. One resource provides the guardian for an indigent person, and one can serve as the guardian and, if needed, the conservator for someone who has resources to hire a professional. We're delighted to have two professionals with us who will explain these resources and how they might be helpful to elderly folks in need of this assistance. Our first guest is a national certified guardian and certified senior advisor. She presently owns and is the managing director of I-Corps of the Greater DC area, a for-profit company that she started in 2013 to support seniors and people with disabilities of all ages. Before establishing her company, she was a program management professional contractor for 15 years. Our second guest has been working with people with disabilities for 20 years. She has worked at the ARC of Northern Virginia since 2016, first as a case manager and guardian representative, and presently as their director of public guardianship of last resort program. Prior to joining the ARC of Northern Virginia, she worked for a Nova municipality. In 2009, she was named Advocate of the Year for her work on behalf of people with disabilities. Please welcome Alice Paxson and Noelle St. Amant Aiden. Ladies, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You guys have done such great work getting in this area. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, Noelle, let's just begin the process of kind of going back to basics and talk about what is a guardianship and who's a guardian?
A guardian can be many different people, but guardianship is actually something that's court appointed. It's a legal process to where someone else is in charge of an individual's overall health, whether that be physical or mental, including their residence.
Okay. And Alice, why is a guardian necessary? I mean, I kind of talked about it in my opening, but why do we need a guardian?
Well, there are people who don't have, you spoke about, who do not have family members who can help them, do not have resources where they can hire somebody. There are people that don't know how to, have lost the capability of making healthy decisions for themselves. And to keep them safe and healthy, they need a guardian to lead those decisions for them.
Okay. And again, they haven't, the typical thing is to do some documents, we're going to talk about in a second. Now, Noelle, who typically is named as guardian for somebody?
Typically, it's a family member, whether that's parents or siblings, even a spouse. However, it doesn't have to be family members. It could be a family friend, a relative. There could be a court-appointed legal professional, or there's also the guardian of last resort, a public guardianship.
Okay, very good. Now, Alice, are there circumstances where no one is able to or willing to act in that role?
Oh, there are, yes. It could be where a person has a family member, but they are estranged. They want nothing to do with them because of their behavior.
Oh, that's sad, yeah.
Yeah, it is very sad. And then there's those who, again, have no family members at all. It could also be a distance issue where a family member lives in California and the person is here in Arlington, Virginia, and the logistics don't, pan out.
So that's good to know.
There's even our are foreign nationals that come here, and their family members are across the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean.
No, I hadn't even thought about that. So, Alice, let's turn to, is there some set of documents? If a person has an advanced medical directive or advanced health care directive, is that helpful in able to handle their stuff?
Well, it's helpful in that if they do have those documents, it shows that at some point they were thinking about end-of-life decisions, how they wanted to serve out the end of their life if they didn't have anybody to care for them. So it provides information to the guardian.
Okay, so if someone is referred to you, again, for, your organization, ICOR, is one of those for-profit professional guardians. If they're referred to you for guardianship, and they have the capacity at that time to sign an advanced medical directive and so on, is that helpful?
Well, again, it's helpful in that I know about the ward. We call them a ward when we become guardian. But it does not take the place of being the guardian. Because the guardian, really, their duty is to help on decisions of health care, clothing, housing decisions, medical decisions. Housing decisions aren't involved in a medical directive.
Of course, that's true. So let's talk about the professional guardian, okay, the person who's, are there for-profit companies in the marketplace that actually offer to serve as a guardian for an adult?
There are. There's such as my company. There are attorneys, elder law attorneys who will serve in that capacity. There are individuals who are professional guardians and will take on that responsibility.
Okay. But there are companies where they're not necessarily lawyers involved, they're companies like your own that actually do that.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how are these companies organized to serve this need as a professional guardian? Professional companies such as your own?
Well, they have staff, or else if they're a one-person shop, they'll have the resources. So there's many networking groups in the area where you can find resources to help the person as you help them live the best life they can live, which is our goal. My company, as a company, has staff that help me help the people that I'm guardian for.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the services that a guardian will provide from, in other words, if you're the guardian, what are the type of services that you provide folks?
Make sure that their health records are up to date. We'll go to doctor's appointments with them so we understand completely what's happening.
Okay.
We can advocate for them so that we understand what the doctor is saying where maybe our ward doesn't understand. We can help simplify that process.
Okay.
We can also help them with the Medicare, Medicaid applications. If they should have long-term care coverage, we can help them start a long-term care policy. Any kind of contractual decisions we can help them with, make those decisions for them. More than likely, it's in the housing arena. Do we need to sell the house in order for them to go into assisted living?
Okay. Okay. Now, how do you charge for these types of services?
My company, I charge by, as a lawyer would, charge by the hour in 10-minute increments.
Okay, that's good. Now, what type of clients do professional companies like this typically serve?
What type of clients? Those mainly who have been adjudicated incapacitated.
Okay, sure.
And that of course requires, even with the court order, it requires a doctor's written opinion diagnosis that this person needs it. It could be somebody who has a special needs trust. So maybe it's a younger person on the autism spectrum or has Asperger's, or it could be someone who has mishandled drugs and so has diminished their capacity to make well-informed decisions. It could be somebody who suffers from traumatic brain injury,
Okay.
TBI. You might find that in some of our soldiers, our veterans returning home.
And generally, these people are going to be folks that actually can afford to pay for those services by the professional, right?
Either they have, right, they're independent and they have their money that can pay for it, or they have a special needs trust,
Okay.
which is created in order to help the person with the needs of conservator or guardian.
Okay. Well, let's turn to you now. We'll talk about the ARC now. We have this program that you're in charge of is the Public Guardian of Last Resort. So what happens when someone needs a guardian but there's no family member that's willing to take care of them? They have no money.
Well, then they get referred to us. And we get our referrals from different places, hospitals, nursing homes, local community services boards. So we get our referrals from them, and someone will explain why the person needs the guardian, and also they'll let us know that there is no one else available.
Okay. Now, when those people come to you, if they've actually executed an advanced medical directive, is that important or helpful?
It's always helpful. It's always helpful to us if they have the advanced medical directive. However, if they don't, that's completely fine. Within 60 days of being appointed the guardian for somebody, we do a very extended values history. So that way we know the individual's values. And we don't just ask them, we ask also the people who support them, the people who know them the best.
Sure.
And part of that values history includes end-of-life decisions. So that way we have a really good idea about the person, and so that way when it comes down to making decisions for the person, we can make decisions for the person as they would make for themselves if they
Sure.
were capable of doing so.
Sure. And of course, as is typical, I mean, you want them to be part of the decision-making process if they can contribute to that process.
Absolutely. We like to say that we make decisions with a person instead of for a person.
Okay, that's very helpful. Now, let's talk about ARC's role as a public guardian. First of all, is the ARC of Northern Virginia a nonprofit or a profit company?
We are a nonprofit.
Okay. And so are you a nationwide organization, a
Yes.
local organization?
Now, the ARC itself is nationwide. We have over 700 chapters
Okay.
across the country, and each chapter is its own independent agency. And so we are all nonprofits. Not all ARCs provide public guardianship,
I see.
but here in Northern Virginia we do.
Okay. We talked a little bit about how you get involved as a guardian. Will you be guardian for just anybody?
No, we do have criteria that is set by the Department of Aging and Rehabilitation Services.
Okay.
So our criteria is the individual has to be at least 18 years of age. They have to be considered indigent. There has to be no one else available. We have to be the last resort. And also they have to be considered incapacitated.
Okay. Now, now tell me a little bit about the services that the ARC provides in their role as a guardian of last resort.
As guardian, we are definitely decision makers. However, like I said previously, we make decisions with the person to the best of their ability to participate in decision making. Each person is assigned a guardian representative, and that guardian representative will see the individual a minimum of once a month. We are part of their treatment team if they have one, their services team. We are really, really involved with the individual with looking at medical decisions, housing decisions, sometimes even vocational. We're really involved in every aspect of their life.
Now, you used to be a guardian representative at one time.
I was, yes,
So
prior
you really,
to becoming
so
director.
you really have some hands-on experience about what it's like to be in the trenches, don't you?
Yep, and I still actually carry a caseload even as the director.
Do you really?
I do,
Oh,
and I
that's-
love it. That's the best part of my job.
I'm sure that you're definitely a people person. Now, are there services that the ARC will not provide as a public guardian?
Now, we do provide some conservatorship on a very, very limited basis. But in that respect, if a person does need a conservator, they're likely not indigent. So we wouldn't serve as just the conservator for somebody.
Okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit. I know there's a kind of a window there where you might get involved with a little bit, but it's a different part of the ARC. Now, let's talk about that. Does the ARC of Northern Virginia offer services other than serving as a public guardian?
For the people within the guardianship program, we do not offer the other services that we have other than a special needs trust,
Okay.
which is completely separate from the guardianship program. If they have funds to put into that, that's wonderful. We can assist them with that if we obtain a limited conservatorship. But as far as providing the case management services that we provide as an agency, we do not provide case management and guardianship to the same individual.
Okay. Now, and so now you're a nonprofit. Okay, so that you have expenses. We got to pay for people because we're not
Right.
working for free. I mean, even though we want to help people. So how does the ARC fund its cost?
Well, for the public guardianship program, we actually have a contract with the Department of Aging and Rehabilitation Services.
Okay.
So we are contracted with them to have 50 guardianship slots available. So that's where our funding comes from for that program.
And they pay you some negotiated dollar amount
Correct.
to help cover
Yes.
your stuff. But you guys, I know we were talking before the show that you still have to go out and raise money to support the other programs you have as well.
Oh, absolutely. We do fundraisers all the time.
So it's really a challenge. Let's turn gears now to, we've been talking about the guardianship piece. Alice, let's come back to you and talk about conservators, okay, and let's get a big picture. So what is a conservator and who is a conservator? What is a conservatorship and who is a conservator?
Well, the conservator is going to help the person with their financial responsibilities.
Okay.
That being said, they're going to, if they have a bank account, they'll either manage their bank account or set up a bank account if needed. They can help them get the Medicaid, Medicare services, so which means money, and so we conservator can serve as a rep payee for that person. So they're going to make financial decisions, whereas the guardian I spoke about had more to do with the physical person. The conservator makes the money decisions. So actually the guardian, if there's money involved, cannot make a decision without getting the okay from the conservator.
Okay. Now, and so a conservator is necessary because why?
Usually because the person has been named incapacitated and they cannot take care of their finances.
And they haven't done a financial power of attorney or anything like that.
They don't. They may have a financial power
Okay.
of attorney. That may be, and they could have a durable power of attorney. But the need is when the person, for instance, wants to donate money to horses, to save the horses, which is fine. We all have a right to do that. But when the person starts spending all their money so they don't have money for rent or food or clothing,
That's not good.
then that's not good. That's not good decision making.
So we've talked a little bit, Noelle, about who typically can be the guardian of a person, and I assume we have the same type of list of characters that could be the conservator of the money.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
But we run into that problem that sometimes people may not be willing to serve or they're not around to serve. Is that a similar
Yes.
problem we have here?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that is an issue. So Noelle, we'll just talk for a second. Let's move to the role of, does the ARC of Northern Virginia serve as conservator for adults?
Yes, we do serve as conservator for some of our individuals. It's a very, very, very small number because the majority of our clients are indigent because
Okay.
that's a requirement to be
Okay.
in the program. However, sometimes there can be times where an individual inherits money from a relative that they didn't know they had.
Oh, I see.
So what we would do is we would go to court to become a limited conservator. So that way, once the person gets the money, then we can put it in a special needs trust for them. And at that point, the relationship of conservator is terminated once we put the money in a special needs trust for them.
And one of the reasons so people know why you do that is, of course, is to make sure we can continue to have them qualify for the many government benefits they
Correct,
could get.
absolutely.
So
They
that
can still have the
special-
services so they can continue to live as independently as possible.
And those are fantastic things. So Alice, I know there are for-profit companies that step in to act as conservator where people have resources to pay for their time, and I know your company, ICOR, is one of those. Okay, so tell me, how do you folks get involved as a conservator for people?
Well, there are many avenues. There'll be either from an elder law attorney who doesn't want to serve as a conservator,
Okay.
doesn't do that role. Another type of attorney is wills, trust, and estate. That would be probably where the parent has been involved and wants to set up a special needs trust for their child. And also financial daily money managers. So we serve as daily money managers, but in the field of, in the Adam field, as we call them, they don't want to take on that fiduciary responsibility. And that's what we do, is we will serve as trustee, rep payee, and conservator, court-appointed conservator.
I know we mentioned that a lot of companies, professional companies like your company, will actually initially start as paying the bills. Just paying the mortgage, paying the paper boy, and so on and so forth. And then
exactly.
over time that evolves, and so there's a certain level of trust that's been built up because of that continued
That is true,
service.
and they will, and that's where we get them from the daily money managers. The circumstances have developed where the person says, will you be my financial power of attorney? And many of them don't want to serve, have that responsibility, so they can contact us and we will serve in that relationship.
Okay, that's very good. Tell me again, just so as we wrap up here, what are the types of services, though, that a for-profit conservator will provide to people who need that assistance? Bill paying, I guess.
Bill paying, reconciling the bank account, being the advocate and monitoring the expenditure of the money, so whatever money they have is not expended beyond their bath. Ideally, what we'd like to do is have our ward outlive, the other way around, to have their estate outlive them, so there's money left when they pass away.
Okay, that's
so
a good
that they
idea.
are very, well taken care of. So it's a very sometimes tense situation to be able to care for these people.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
I'm sure the money is there for them.
Of course. Well, we've covered a lot of materials. We sort of look at both sides of the public guardianship versus the for-profit side. So let's just take a second now to, Noelle, let's start with you. Some final comments you want to share about the public guardianship for our viewers?
Yes, we're definitely here to serve anyone in Northern Virginia, but I would always ask people to look at alternatives to guardianship. We really should be a last resort. When someone becomes or when someone gets a guardian, they lose rights. And so we should always look at alternatives to that, whether it's a power of attorney, advanced medical directives, supported decision making, or even in this day and age, technology. You should always look for the alternatives first, and we're happy to help you look at those alternatives at the Arc of Northern Virginia.
And Alice, how about yourself? Some final comments you would want to pass along to our viewers?
I would mimic what Noelle said, is to do guardianship as a last resort, because there are rights when it's a court-ordered guardianship. The person gives up their right to vote, to hold firearms, to drive, and to make a marriage contract. So these are pretty big events in a person's life. Generally, when they come to me, my company, and they need a guardian, those issues are already been decided. They can't. People will realize, I know listening to this, that the difficult part, the hardest part with your grandma or grandpa or mom or dad is to take away those car keys.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So that we could do a whole show on that.
Those are fighting words, yes, to say the very least.
Yes, but to realize that court-appointed guardian, people are losing their rights, as Noelle said. So it should be, if you can do a durable power of attorney, I would go that route in a heartbeat.
Well, guys, I want to thank you both so much for taking the time to talk with us about these very, very challenging issues that I think families are facing all the time across Northern Virginia.
They are.
And so we had great service for you guys to come in and share your expertise and your insights. So again, thank you very much on behalf of the Probate Nation.
Thank you,
Thank
Richard.
you.
You're very welcome. You know, our population continues to get older every day. With the passing of time, many of our elderly are no longer able to make good medical and financial decisions for themselves. There are several recommended legal documents that could be executed in advance to appoint someone to help when that time comes. But many seniors have not taken advantage of that planning opportunity, and as a result, a living probate called a guardianship or conservatorship or both may be necessary. As the discussion with our guests illustrates, for those who have financial resources but need someone to be their guardian or conservator, there are professional businesses organized to provide both of these services. On the other hand, for those who are without financial resources to hire such a business, there are public guardians available to serve the indigent. If someone needs a guardian or conservator, both of these resources offer good options to meet that need. But sorting through these options can be and often is a complicated process. We strongly recommend that an attorney who has experience with adult conservatorships and guardianships be consulted, as they will be familiar with these resources and can facilitate the decisions that will need to be made. This brings us to the conclusion of our show today on the public and professional guardian and conservator. Hope you found it informative, and remember that replays of the show can be viewed on the Probate Nation website. On behalf of the Probate Nation, thank you for visiting with us.